A pool home on nearly 2 acres in Fort Myers, Florida. This wasn't just another probate property. The only heir was actually locked up for murder, and the foreclosure auction was right around the corner. All the attorneys that the family had dealt with said that there was no hope. Everyone else had given up until we stepped in. This is the true story of how we closed a wholesale deal from jail.
Man is facing a second-degree murder charge after a stabbing in Fort Myers.
We had a property that we were working on. It was owned by a lady. She had passed away, and the only heir was her son. Her son had been living in the property. It was on, like I said, 2 acres with another property that was in the back on a separate parcel. What ended up happening was the heir got into an altercation with the person who lived behind him and ended up murdering him. So he was in jail. And this house also had a mortgage on it that was not being paid. So it was now seriously in default, and it was heading to the final stages of a foreclosure where it would be auctioned off. We ended up reaching out to the heir's father, who was his power of attorney. He told us flat out that they tried to resolve this. They tried to work with other attorneys, and everybody said that nothing could be done. There was no solution. But our team saw a threat of possibility. With a foreclosure auction looming, we knew time was running out. So the next part that was really difficult was we actually had to coordinate with the heir who was in jail. We had to work with the county attorneys and notaries, personnel. Only certain notaries can go into jail. They have to be registered at that particular location. Just when we thought everything was handled, notaries are there with the heir, boom, Florida law says that the power of attorney docs weren't valid. It was now back to the drawing board. We had to work with the heir's dad, get new power of attorney docs drafted, notarized, signed that were up to par with Florida law, go back to the jail, work with the notaries, get all the probate documents signed, sent off, finally completed. But then came the double whammy. The house had the active foreclosure, but now an auction date had been set in a matter of weeks. On top of that, the heir had a foreclosure judgment from 2010 of $300,000 that sank pretty much all equity in the deal. And this was our oh crap moment. We had to sit there, brainstorm, and figure out this last minute solution to 2 super tricky things that really killed the deal. So we did our brainstorming, and we finally came across a legal firm that could likely help remove the judgment and stall the auction date. And they told us straight up, this is going to cost you guys $10,000 up front. There's probably less than a 10% chance that we're able to get this done. At this point, we're really out of options. So we said, all right, let's do it. We ended up funding this legal battle. 24 hours before the auction, we got a call. The attorneys let us know that not only had they been able to stall the auction, they were actually also able to remove the lien. They were shocked. They were in disbelief. Final analysis, this property was worth about $450,000 to $500,000. We ended up locking it up for $75,000. After all costs were accounted for, attorneys, legal, everything that was involved to get this done, our investors and funding partners were actually able to pay us $60,000 net. So a few lessons from this deal: never trust that a power of attorney document is valid without legal review. Don't let jail be a deal breaker, just a hurdle. Foreclosure timelines are tight, so you need to move fast. Judgment liens can kill equity, but they can also be defeated. And most importantly, when everybody else is saying no, you need to keep asking how. This deal tested everything. Legal, creative, emotional, financial. We really did take a gamble on the 11th hour to save this property from being auctioned off through the bank. But if you're in the real estate game and you think a deal is too messy, just remember that every single real estate transaction has a solution. You just have to work the deal and think outside of the box creatively. Like and subscribe for more insane behind the scenes stories from the world of Florida Sell Now.